Chapter 7, Lesson 3. So in this video we're going to be talking about implementation. So once the stage of development and testing has been completed and you want to start introducing the new system into your company, this is the stage that deals with the different type of methods that we can use to do that. So let's go through these slides. So the implementation stage is the fourth step in systems analysis. In this stage, after the system has been fully tested and appears to be functioning correctly, it is time to implement or put the system in place in the business or place of work. So the four ways that we can implement the new system: there's direct changeover, parallel running, pilot running, and phased implementation. So these are the four ways that your textbooks describe how the system can be implemented into your business. So what is direct changeover? So with direct changeover, the old system stops getting used one day and the new system starts being used the next day. So immediately, if today they're using the old system, then the next day they straight away start using the new system that has been developed and tested in stage 3. So direct changeover, probably the fastest way to start using the new system in your entire business. What are the advantages and disadvantages of direct changeover? So the advantages are, it's the fastest way of changing from one system to another. The new system can be used immediately after installation. It's a cheap method of changeover, as you don't have to pay for 2 sets of staff. So you'll see in some of the other methods, you might have 2 systems running side by side, which means you have to have 2 sets of staff. And there's less chance of the new system being faulty, as it will have already been fully tested and checked. The disadvantages, however: staff have to be trained and fully ready to use the new system before it is installed. So they would be used to using the old system, so you have to train them to be able to use the new system efficiently. So this training can be hard to fit into their daily schedules. All of the old system's data needs to be uploaded into the new system's database before it is installed. So this can be time consuming and difficult to plan. And the last one, the old system is completely removed, so there's nothing to go back to if the new system fails. This means that data can be lost permanently. So as soon as you remove the old system and you start working with the new system, if something goes wrong and it completely fails, you might lose data. So these are advantages and disadvantages of direct changeover. So in other words, if you replace the old system immediately overnight. What is parallel running? So this is the next option. With parallel running, the old system and the new system are run alongside each other for a period of time. Data would be input into both the old system and the new system, producing 2 sets of results. So this is where you have 2 sets of staff, one staff still putting in information into the old system, and you have another set of staff that are putting information into the new system. When the staff are sure they can use the new system and that it is functioning properly, the old system is switched off. At this point, the new system will be used exclusively. So they'll run the 2 systems side by side, and when they feel that the new system is working correctly and they have confidence in the way it works, they will then discard the old system and just only use the new system in the business. What are the advantages and disadvantages of parallel running? So the advantages, so we're going to read through these. If the new system fails, the old system is still available. This way no data will be lost. Staff can be trained in the new system gradually, as a changeover doesn't happen immediately. It's an excellent way to test the new system using live data. The disadvantages, though: this changeover method is more expensive. This is because you have running costs of 2 systems instead of 1. So you have to have extra staff, you'll have to pay, your electricity bill might be higher, but these are the advantages and disadvantages of parallel running. So when you choose to introduce your system, firstly by running the old system and the new system side by side, and when you feel the new system is working correctly, you then discard the old one and only use the new one. So what is pilot running? So when implementing a new system, using the pilot running changeover method involves introducing the new system to one part of the company first, and then rolling it out to the other departments later. So if you have a business, you're going to choose one section of your business that is going to use the new system, and all the other sections will still be using the old system. And when you have run that new system in that section of your business and you feel that is running correctly, and you're confident to introduce it to the other sections of your business, then you can do so. So this method is good to test that the system works properly without having to massively restructure the company. The term pilot can be defined as to experiment or test before introducing something more widely. So that is pilot running. What are the advantages and disadvantages of pilot running? So if the new system doesn't work correctly, it only affects one part of the company. So the part of the company that you chose to test this new system on, only that section is affected. The implementation is on a smaller scale and is easier to manage than direct changeover. Staff can be trained gradually from department to department. The staff that were involved with the pilot scheme can also help train other staff. It is cheaper than parallel running because the pilot is only used in one part of the company. The disadvantages: it takes longer to implement the new system across the whole company. This is because the changeover happens gradually from department to department. The department taking part in the pilot can lose data if the new system fails. That is because the new system has replaced the old system. So these are advantages and disadvantages of pilot running. What is phased implementation? So this type of changeover is where the new system is implemented one part at a time in phases. When each part of the new system has been fully tested and is known to work correctly, the next part is phased in. Eventually the old system will be fully replaced. So if you imagine that if you have a new system, let's say for example it's split into different parts. Let's say it's split into quarters. Okay, so what we can do is introduce each part of the new system bit by bit. So we can, for example, say that we are going to introduce 25% of this new system into our business. And when that part is pretty much being used and we are all confident that it works correctly, that the system is flawless, then what you can do is introduce the next 25% into our business. So in that case, we'd have 50% of our business currently running on the new system and 50% of it running on the old system still. And then you'd introduce the next 25% and then finally the last 25%. And at that point, the whole system or old system will have been completely disregarded and the new system will be fully in place. So that is how phased implementation works. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of phased implementation? So staff can be trained gradually as they only need to train in the part of the system that is currently being phased in. It is easier to find system errors as you're dealing with only one part at a time. If one part of the new system fails, it is still possible to access the parts of the old system that are still in use. The disadvantages, however: it's more expensive than direct changeover, as you have to test each phase separately before moving on to the next. Because the system is installed in separate phases, it can take a long time to implement the whole system. The last one only suitable for systems that can be split into separate parts. So not all systems can be implemented this way. So these are advantages and disadvantages of phased implementation. So the last slide, which method of implementation is most suitable? Okay, so which method of implementation might be the most appropriate, okay, depending on your situation. So they give you a few examples over here. So for direct changeover, you might want to use this when it's well, basically use where you want a quick changeover. So you simply stop using the old system one day and you start using the new one the next day. So if you want the fastest method of introducing the new system, direct changeover is going to be the best option. Parallel running. This is best for use in departments within organizations where you cannot afford to lose any data, because remember, you're running the old system and the new system side by side, so if the new system fails, you still have the old one to still contain the information for you. Okay. Pilot running. This is best for organizations that have large, important departments that must not lose any data. With pilot running, you can use the new system in smaller departments first, where any data loss will not be as catastrophic. And then once the system has been proven to run flawlessly, it can be installed onto the larger departments. And for phased implementation, this is best for organizations that cannot afford to lose data and can afford the time and cost of a slow changeover. Alright, so that is the end of the lesson. I hope it was alright. Let me know if you have any questions.